Today we are going to be installing a new power supply on a desktop PC. This tutorial will be covering the hardware installation aspect only. For this example, we are going to be using an Acer Veriton M480G and an EVGA 500-watt power supply. Depending on installed components, this process may vary a little or a lot from desktop to desktop. For this tutorial, you are going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. It is also recommended that you use an anti-static wristband when dealing with internal components in a desktop. Make sure the desktop is fully powered off and disconnected from a power source before beginning. First, remove the side panel of the case. We offer a more in-depth tutorial on this, which can be found down below in the video description on YouTube or elsewhere if you are on our website. Before you continue, check to see if any cables are routed behind the motherboard as shown here. If so, you will need to remove the back panel as well. Now that your case is open, you will need to identify the power supply itself. It will usually be a large metal box either at the top or the bottom of the case at the rear. On this particular case, it is located at the top. Next, identify and unplug all the connections to the motherboard and components the power supply has. This usually includes a 20 to 24 pin connection to the motherboard, a SATA connection on the hard drive, disk drive, or any other media input device you may have, a PCIe connection if you have a high-powered graphics card, a 4 to 8 pin connection to the motherboard. Finally, be sure to check for case fans connected to a Molex connector as shown here. Make sure all of the cables are disconnected and in front of the motherboard as shown here. Next, identify the 4 screws that secure the power supply to the back of the case. Now remove the screws. If your power supply is located at the top of the case, you may want to hold it with a free hand to prevent it from falling if it is not secured with brackets as shown here. The power supply should now be easily removed. Next, slide the new power supply into place, making sure all of the cables are in front of the motherboard. Replace the screws on the back of the case you removed when uninstalling the old power supply. Now reconnect all of the cables that you disconnected earlier. Next, replace the side panel or panels you removed previously. If your new power supply has a power switch, be sure to turn it to the on position before attempting to give power to your PC. If all of your connections were correctly reattached, your computer should power on when you press the power button on the case.